Final lineup set for Panorama 2025. Gas leak forces wesn secondary evacuation. TTAHI offers secure parking for Carnival, and internationally, South African court dismisses white genocide claims. Now for the details. 2 high-tech mobile scanners were officially commissioned at the Port of Port of Spain Tuesday, the 25th of February, with 2 more set to be installed at the Port of Point Lisas soon. Works and Transport Minister Rohan Sinanan says the $12.9 million U.S. investment will enhance national security, increasing container inspections in Port of Spain from 25% to 75%. The stage is set for the grand finale of Panorama 2025, taking place this Saturday at the Queen's Park Savannah. Phase 2 Pan Groove will open the show, while last year's champions, BP Renegades, will close. Republic Bank Exodus, which topped the preliminary and semi-finals, will perform 6th. Students and staff at wesn Secondary School in La Brea were forced to evacuate this morning after detecting a gas leak on the compound. Emergency services, including police and Heritage Petroleum personnel, responded. No injuries were reported and investigations are ongoing. The Trinidad and Tobago Association for the Hearing Impaired will open its Ryson Road compound for Carnival Monday and Tuesday, parking at $100 per day. The funds will support TTAHI's initiatives, including plans for an inclusive preschool. To promote hearing safety, drivers will receive free earplugs, and public hearing screenings will be held on March 6th and 7th. Internationally, a South African court has ruled that claims of a white genocide are imagined and not real, rejecting a $2.1 million bequest to a white supremacist group. The case, tied to false narratives promoted by former U.S. President Donald Trump and Elon Musk, underscores ongoing racial tensions and misinformation. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
Because what the AI agents can do is they can impersonate the roles that we as human beings play in a number of ways. So, for example, we currently at HR Plus here building out agents into our next version of our application. And these agents will be able to do the work of project managers, implementation specialists, trainers, and even help desk. So what we're actually doing is using the AI to more or less give us a massive increase in productivity, as these AI agents would work as assistants to the existing staff. So previously, we do about 24 projects a year. We mainly work with medium and large companies. And we do implementation of our product, which is very large. It has 20 modules. And so we couldn't handle, even though I have 75 staff, we couldn't really do more than those number of projects. But with the AI agents being operating similar to the staff in a number of areas, handling a lot of activities they do, we can now scale to hundreds of projects per year.
So using this, has it made any job obsolete in any way?
It has changed. It will change in nature of the jobs, right? So certain tasks that you can train the AI to do, those certain elements of those would now be handled by the AI agents. Our staff will primarily be introducing new customers through the use of the AI agent as system with the implementation. And my staff will only intervene where they are redirected to my staff, because you may meet situations where the AI is not trained to handle, and therefore they have to refer back to the staff and so on. So, so what it does really is allow you to scale at a significant level. Now, for example, in a BPO, for example, now they have a lot of low-level stuff they do. Some of them do very technical, high-level stuff. So in those that where you have a lot of basic low-level stuff, I can see the possibility of training the AI to take over those functions, and therefore reduce the need for certain call center operations, and therefore those would be jobs that may vanish through AI. But AI could be deployed across every industry. AI could even be deployed to help with crime, right?
And just to clarify, you said you use the term BPO. Can you just clarify that for our viewers, please?
All right, so there's business process outsourcing, right? Where they have call centers and so on, right? It's already happening, has been reported. I read a lot, and in some business journals, have already reported that some organizations say that they have eliminated like 700 positions where they used to have call center operations, and the AI agents are now playing that role, right? Because the thing with it is the AI is very powerful. It's multimodal, meaning you can speak to the AI. You don't have to necessarily type in what you want it to do.
Yes.
You can also speak to it, and it will answer you, and it can take on the personality of. You can train these AIs to have a West Indian personality, American, whatever it is required within the context of where that agent is actually going to operate.
Mr. Fernandez, on the flip side now, AI, I mean, there's AI is also creating job opportunities, or at least, I mean, they can. So what areas of development or implementation should we be focusing on to build a strong local AI workforce, if that makes sense?
All right, well, one of the things with AI is you have to understand how to prompt it. So there's something called now prompt engineering. So what that does is that if you only give it a very basic prompt, you will not really be able to take advantage of what it's really capable of doing. So the better you learn to prompt it meaning giving it instructions as to what you want it to do. So the better you learn to do that, and the more intricate that can be, is the better results you will get from the use of the AI. So learning how to do it is key, right? What needs to happen is that in all organizations, they need to work through all their processes and then look at what they believe can be automated. Sometimes they may not be sure, but there are a multitude of videos on YouTube that show you what these agents are capable of and examples. So a good starting point for an organization is to do some research as to what the capability of these AI agents are, and therefore what within your business environment you believe it is possible to have an agent automate that task, right? In most instances, it would help your staff to be more productive, and whereas they maybe have been handling a certain number of interventions of an item that they can automate per day, with the support of the AI agent, you might be able to escalate that to, like let's say it was 25, you might not be able to escalate that to 100. And the economic benefits of that you would enjoy.
I want to talk a little bit more about the idea of trust in AI, in these types of technologies, especially with us here in Trinidad and Tobago. We already have such a, I don't go there, you know, I don't trust that, I don't deal up with that when it comes to technology in itself. Now we're introducing the idea of generative AI technologies, which is a step further. How do we build trust with our population to be able to use this?
Well, the thing about it is the AI is trained, right? So now the data sets that is trained on is what influences what it will output, right? Now, if you're using closed models like from OpenAI, from DeepSeek or what have you, the closed versions, in the sense that it's not, you have not used an open source one that you train yourself. There will be a lot of things in there that would have been curated to give you answers in a particular way, right? But if it is that you want to train it on your context, your environment, and so on, that would require interventions to train the AI, and then it would give you responses according to that data that it has been trained on, right? So you can restrict what a particular AI model can provide to your staff, to the public, to your customers, and so on, right? Now, some people, they are bad actors.
Yeah.
And some people will use the AI for nefarious purposes.
Yes.
Right? Because AI can impersonate people. You can take a photograph of someone and go into one of the video models, for example, and ask it to portray that person in a particular way. It will restrain the portrayal based on its own training, and then you can ask it to lip sync text that you have written up onto that person and have them saying things that they may have never said, right?
Yeah.
So a bad actor could use that. We have the elections coming up, and it hasn't fully started yet, and we're already hearing certain type of race talk and all sorts of things. And the AI could make that whole situation worse.
A lot worse. So do you think our public has the education?
Sophistication?
Sophistication, to use that word, to understand AI's potential? Because it's already here. Let's not lie to ourselves. It's already here. Do you think we're ready for it?
Well, many people are using it in their jobs, and I know I am aware of that, to help them do a number of things. So, yes, we can take advantage of it as it is out there. But as I said, we also need to be wary of persons who are using it to take shortcuts. So there are people using AI to do their schoolwork, right? And trying to pass exams. Now, up to this morning, I was reading an article where Microsoft was saying that AI is dampening the ability of its staff to be creative because they're adopting a lazy approach. They're going to ask AI to do everything for them and not thinking through things on their own, right? And they're picking up that is impacting the creativity, and it will also reduce your ability to do certain things yourselves. I remember when I was in school, that's many years ago, I had to learn up to the 26 timetables, right? To do common entrance.
Yes.
And what happened subsequently when calculators came, you see people using calculators in the exam and all of that. So I would have an advantage because I can calculate figures much faster than many persons who use calculators because of the training my mind had. So similarly, when you use AI to do all these things for you, you are going to also, if you don't use it judiciously, you can fall back with certain skills that you should have as a person trying to develop yourselves.
I just want to go back a little bit to something Jada said with regard to people being hesitant toward AI. You know, I don't know what that is, so I don't want to really involve myself in it. But what about I'm
not too worried about that because I remember my ex-wife. She took very long before she started to use a cell phone, right? And now you can get off the phone.
Yes. No, but I mean, so this AI is driven by these big tech companies, right? So OpenAI, Google,
Meta.
Meta.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is there the possibility of a smaller nation like Trinidad and Tobago participating in AI innovation rather than just being a consumer of these foreign technologies?
Well, what I'm saying is that most of them have closed models, but DeepSeek, which was put out there as open source, meaning that you can download it, see how it is trained, modify it, and so on. That gives you the ability now to develop your own stuff, right? And participate in the revolution. Because what was promoted was that you needed, tons of money, billions of dollars, US dollars, and otherwise, to really be able to train these models and so on, and to take advantage of this revolution. But what has happened now is that there are many, many open source models, more than the closed source ones, that are available. And if you do the research, you can then use these to make an impact, to take it and train it and build it in. The thing about AI, it has trained on all human knowledge, but what you can do is have smaller models that are trained in a particular field.
Yes.
So you can have an AI-based dealing with medical stuff, one with petroleum engineering for Trinidad, teaching,
education,
yes. So you can have very many models dealing with specific knowledge areas. And that is how you will really get to. You can use it for agriculture, for this, for that, it helps. The good thing about it is that it helps with research, and coming out of the research, allowing you to make breakthroughs and advances and so on.
When we talk about how the drawbacks to AI, I think we touched on it earlier. When it comes to people creating like deep fakes and all these different things, how difficult is it for AI to be regulated? I mean, I think bodies like the UN, UNESCO, all of these places have published certain.
But the challenge is that in the global environment, because of geopolitics and all of that,
yes,
you have one group saying it should be regulated on a global basis, and the UN should be the center of that.
Yes.
And you have other countries who feel that AI is going to give them this huge advantage for them to dominate aspects of the world, that they don't want to be part of that. They want to be able to do their own thing without constraints. So, that as a result, it will be more difficult to have a universal regulation of it. But individual countries are putting certain guardrails in place as to how it should be used. It's just like on Facebook and so on. You could go there and do things, and then you can still get charged by the police here, right, locally. So I think once those things are worked out, law enforcement, will be possible as to what and how people are using AI.
I just want to touch again on what you said before with the open space AI, open source, sorry, where, just to understand that a little more. So using open source, you can then kind of create your own, it becomes like your personal AI.
You could, your own version of the AI, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Because you actually get the source code. You get, so open source means you have direct access through the source code and that you could modify it to make changes. So you don't start from scratch. You have a model that's already built out there, but you can now take it and modify it in ways to assist you in coming up with something that you're trying to shape around your own, culture, environment, knowledge.
So what is the difference then? Because ChatGPT is not an open source AI,
No, it is not.
Right. So I understand from using ChatGPT, I mean, the more questions that you ask ChatGPT, they have like a memory system, and they keep the memory of your questions, and they learn you and the types of questions that you ask. So then I remember there was an instance where my friends and I, we asked our personal ChatGPT, to tell us something about ourselves, and they kind of, they were so spot on, but it was based on questions that we would usually ask, So what is the difference with that and then understanding open source?
Well, the thing with the closed models is that remember, it has been trained in a way that it will not go outside of the boundaries of how it was trained and what guardrails were put in it. So, for example, I had asked ChatGPT about Maurice Bishop, and it told me that he's a controversial figure and it can't tell me anything more. Right? No, that's because who trained it told it that. Right?
Yes. Okay.
Now, in our open source model, you could tell the open source model everything about Maurice Bishop you want to know. And eventually that'll be part of its knowledge base. So when somebody else questions that model that you have put up, they will get the proper answers.
Yeah, so I mean, there's no biasness, I guess, to open source.
It's always biased based on who trains it and what you train it on, right? But as you said correctly just now, it learns from you. So I have been using it to do music. Soca and so on, and I've been able to actually reproduce soca. Some of it is on the radio that people cannot distinguish. It's all AI. They're asking who's singing it. It's an AI voice. Who's making the music? The AI is making the music.
But it's based on what you put in.
You have to spend hours and hours and hours working with it and training it.
Yeah.
So then it understands, okay, I want to get a soca, a Trini soca, with a Trini vibe.
Yes. So I wanted to ask a more targeted question when it comes to AI in the education system eventually. So several international studies and bodies like UNESCO have highlighted the need for age-appropriate regulation of AI use in the educational system, particularly to protect younger students from undue reliance on AI, as we touched on before. So how might a form of generative AI be implemented in our education system? And do you even think it wise with the current state of our ICT infrastructure?
Well, the thing is, again, so CARICOM, for example, would have to probably look at how they have develop a version of AI for Caribbean students and so on. That has the guardrails to keep it within the various age groups, so that it's limited in what it would expose students to, and also to do it in such a way that it doesn't hinder the person's ability to maintain creativity and so on, right? So all of that is part of what you spoke to in terms of how we have to address the needs of our communities. Yeah, you can't just throw the whole thing out there. It's like freedom of speech. We talk about freedom of speech, but freedom of speech has to be in guardrails as well, because people could go there and say any type of thing and do any type of stuff.
That's so true. If you were a schoolboy and your teacher came and introduced you to ChatGPT or some form of AI use in schools, how would you think you would have reacted when you were doing common entrance or so?
Well, that's a very difficult question. Particularly if you, but yeah, it's like, no, I understand people have access to, when they're doing exams, they have these open book exams, right? so the education, the thing is, because the technology is evolving all the time, you have to evolve with the technology, otherwise you'll get left behind, right? So the thing is that you still, from a scholastic point of view, have to look at it and then more or less refine it within the constraints for what you're trying to achieve. So it will be different for how you train it for use at the primary level versus secondary level versus university level. You know, how you interact with it. And so a young person would try to ask it all sorts of questions, but again, it will be the guardrails and how it was designed that would allow it to, you know, keep it in parameters that you want to set to make sure you don't affect, you know, that they just totally dependent on this technology and not learning creative skills and other things that they need to have to operate properly.
So, Mr. Fernandez, we need to begin to wrap up, but I wanted to end on the implementation of AI into our society. I know that AI requires a lot of machine power, so like data centers, it needs strict policy from government. How do we even begin to implement those types of things within not just Trinidad, but CARICOM in general?
Right. So, now the government itself has significant data center resources.
Interesting.
That they have. In fact, the government IT infrastructure runs on local infrastructure that they have commissioned with companies like Fujitsu, right, in Trinidad. So within that environment, they can, I think the first thing is they have to come up with a full policy framework for how they see AI, you know, and how it can be used. And I think it should be done CARICOM-wide because we are small island states. It will be better to do that way to make sure we maximize the use of resources, right? And we get more input from more scholars across the region to come up with this framework and policy so that it serves the common good across the Caribbean, right? And then, you know, the infrastructure could be put in to allow us to get at some of the open source models and train them to suit our requirements within the Caribbean.
And just last question. I don't know how you'll take this, but with the introduction of DeepSeek and it taking over the AI game, who do you think is winning right now between the US and China?
Well, China has actually released several models besides DeepSeek, right? What it has shown and what is good about it, you know, the US was actually trying to dominate the area and make it sort of unaccessible to others, right? In the sense of being able to catch up to them, right? I remember there was a video showing Sam Altman, the head of OpenAI, at a conference in India, telling one of the Indian guys was asking him how soon you think India could catch up. So it's exactly what you're asking me. And he made a statement, well, you can try, but you will never be able to. And he got the shock of his life when China released DeepSeek.
Yes, he would have, yeah.
Right, so it has broken that perception that only these large governments with, not countries, sorry, and companies with all these huge resources, because the thing about what DeepSeek did is that they were able to train it on much less expensive equipment.
Yes.
Right, and since then, the method they used, right, which was more brain and software programming power than machine power. Many persons in universities and countries are now getting onto it big time because it's open source, and they are now investing in building out AI for themselves, and they're without having that type of expense that they were trying to portray that that's the only way you can keep up.
Yes.
So it has made a huge turnaround as to how this thing is evolving, And I think it's for the better. And now it's actually forcing some of the big companies to drop their prices for using the AI and also open sourcing parts of what they have, because once you open source, you have many more people to contribute to development of the tool. And the open source community will probably outgun, so to speak, the closed source models,
Yes.
because they have so many more contributions that can be made by so many more organizations, individuals, universities, and so on.
Yes, I appreciate that perspective.
Yeah, well, Mr. Fernandez, we do have to close off here. I think Jada can carry on this conversation till
Thy
kingdom come. But thank you so much for joining us again this morning. The conversation was definitely
enlightening.
Yeah, it was knowledgeable, very. So
yeah, I think the next thing you need to speak to is how the AI and the robotics.
Yes, I actually had a few questions on the AI robotics, and you mentioned quantum computing. Yes.
Yeah.
So we might have to have a part 3.
Sure, no problem.
But thanks again.
The title impact of those are going to be very, very significant when you combine the AI and those technologies.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have a part 3 soon. Sure. But we do enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks again. Yeah, and we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to continue on with our conversations this morning. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to the program this morning. This morning we are shining a spotlight on an inspiring entrepreneur who has been making a significant impact in the local food industry. Rachel Rennie Gonzalez, co-founder of D Market Movers Limited, Farm and Function TT, and Market Movers Design. She has been recognized as one of the Anthony N. Sabga 2025 laureates of entrepreneurship. Through her business, she has championed farm-to-table initiatives, supported local farmers, and created innovative solutions to improve food security and sustainability in Trinidad and Tobago. Today, she joins us to share her journey, insights on entrepreneurship, and the importance of building a resilient local food system. Good morning, Ms. Rennie, and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Good morning. That was a long intro.
But you've accomplished quite a lot.
And you deserve a very thorough introduction. So
thank you. Appreciate it.
So, Ms. Rennie, can you just take us back to the beginning? What inspired or sparked your interest in food systems and entrepreneurship?
I wouldn't say maybe, I guess life inspired it, because sometimes, you have a particular path as you evolve and become in your 20s. So when, things don't work out the way you expected, you're sometimes thrusted into an environment where you have to survive. And I think in that survival mode of just finding a living and things like that, David, my business partner, and I started this company where we would, you know, he used to bring fresh fish from Las Cuevas, and I had my brother, my family's in agriculture, you know, would have fresh seasoning, and we would make up these bundles for our co-workers. I worked the night shift at the bank. That's where I met David. So, you know, that's where it all started, and we realized, you know, people didn't have access to, you know, they're busy working, they're working in the day, they're working in the night. You know, they don't have time or access to, you know, get the freshest ingredients. So we wanted to just bring that closer to the customer, to give people the best stuff, you know, that you want to have fresh fish or fresh local ingredients, not something that was imported from halfway around the world and doesn't have any nutritional content or high enough nutritional content. You know, and these are the things that, you know, really inspired us, helping our customers get access to the best ingredients. And we have customers who are differently able, elderly, you know, who live abroad in order for their families back here. So they send food remittances. And we just sort of stumbled into that online digital space in agriculture because, you know, we couldn't afford a brick and mortar store, and we saw that people were going online. This was in 2009. And we would have seen it in other first world countries, well, in, you know, like the US or the UK. And eventually we knew like online would have, you know, filtered down into the Caribbean. So that's what we did. We built a website and we sold fruits and vegetables on the internet.
So, Ms. Gonzalez, I actually read that you are a Providence Girls alum.
Yes. I went
So am I.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to be among such alum. But I wanted to ask about your success. Was there a defining moment where you said, yes, this is it? This is my success. I'm sticking with this. I'm going with this because I'm actually making a difference. What was that moment for you?
I think, well, one, it was kind of when my parents were just like, oh, okay, this is real.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds kind of silly, but I guess when you're in that developing phase, you sort of need that encouragement and validation. So I think my family, my network, my friends, were all very encouraging. And having a business partner as well, you know, it helped balance some of that. So I think when, you know, getting those validations, but not from, you know, everyone, but from persons you look up to or you respect or communities that you respect, I think when people, when you have that network and community, it really makes a difference.
Can we let's talk a little bit about farm and function. I know that's used to reduce food waste and so can you just get into it a little bit and just like tell us, you know, what impact has it had so far since it's been running?
So Farm and Function is a range of locally grown frozen fruit products. You know, when we looked on the shelves, there was only imported berries and, you know, strawberries and blueberries. And we just felt like Caribbean people deserved Caribbean ingredients, local ingredients, and have it all year. So strawberries aren't available all year, but, you know, it's because they freeze it and they extend the shelf life where we're able to sometimes enjoy, you know, berries out of season. And then, you know, from different sides of the world, we get ingredients. So I think with the frozen fruits, it came out of Market Movers. So it was one of our customers who ordered online, and you know, she called us and said her husband was diagnosed with cancer, and this was way back. This was maybe 9-10 years ago, and you know that he had to drink smoothies, and we were like, okay, sure. She's like, can you cut up the fruits and freeze it for us and bag it up, because I won't have time because she has to take care of her husband and whatnot, and the kids. So, you know, we were just like, what is a smoothie? Like, looked it up, because back then, you know, we know punches in the Caribbean, right? So we saw that, you know, every week she was buying this frozen fruit, blending it up. She was eating way more fruits because she's drinking her fruits and not,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of people are busy, so they don't even have time to sit and eat a whole
Yeah.
slice of melon or something. So I think that's how the company really started. Because we know the benefits of digital and marketing and attracting the customer through, you know, telling your story and engaging with the customer. That's how our packaging, you know, when we looked on the shelves, it only had imported like big brands, right?
Yes.
So if we were to go on the shelf, we would have to compete in this sort of deeper waters. So that's how we, you know, our packaging is beautifully designed. It's frozen fruits. We have pawpaw, pineapple, passion fruit, mango, guava. You know, we just recently launched dragon fruit. So we have a blend available in larger sizes in the bulk stores, and then in the retail stores, in the frozen section, you know, we're there. So we also sell out of the market movers as well. And yeah, so I think frozen fruits, it, you know, now when you look at your blender, it now has a smoothie button, right? So that's
Yes.
just to show you how that segment, the health food segment, has sort of grown and evolved.
Yes.
And so many farmers, I mean, they struggle to get their products into mainstream retail places. Does your work, or how does your work help to bridge that gap?
Right. So obviously, when we did Farm and Function, we are now, you know, distributing regionally by Hadco Limited and the Hadco Group, and it's being distributed nationwide. And this is from us, like pitching it in a retail chain, going to the buyers in the back door of the groceries and asking them if they would list this product, right? So we built the brand ourselves at first, and then we couldn't handle the distribution and reaching further markets. So that's where we got a distributor. So then it just really ripple effect because it allowed us to now focus on exports, which we export regionally to Barbados and Dominica,
Yes.
the frozen fruits, and we're exploring or entering the Guyanese market soon, and hopefully Jamaica later on in the year. So being able to export and get your product, this physical product out there, you know, with our entrepreneurs or SMEs who are listed on market movers, you know, they were like, how did you all do this? How did you all grow this brand? You know, we've kind of started at the same time as you or around the same time. And we're seeing how you've grown the brand. And I think that's how we started Market Movers Design, where we started helping SMEs and food businesses specifically with their branding, their packaging design, their marketability, and, you know, their compliance, which is a big part, food safety,
Exactly,
you know,
yeah.
to enter global markets. You need to have, you know, food safe products. So all this became this evolved, you know, all our motto is we'll work for food because in every context, you know, we're working around local food systems in the Caribbean where we really have this vision of, you know, where food in the Caribbean can go and grow, right? During the pandemic, when we couldn't bring in as many imported foods, it, you know, our supply system helped a lot, right? We helped feed, we've sold over 1 million pounds of local food on the internet,
Beautiful.
right? And this is one small segment. So I think it's how do we evolve our food systems in the Caribbean so that we're much better protected against things like global pandemics, you know, political shifts, and all these things that can affect tiny islands like us.
So do you see food tourism as something that eventually we can use as a giant source of revenue for the country?
Oh my gosh, yes. So, I mean, after Market Movers, before Farm and Function, we would have co-hosted a monthly farm-to-table dining event, right, where we were selling online and we wanted customers to experience local ingredients, right, that, you know, we were supplying like some hotels and restaurants with local bell peppers, sweet peppers, colored, beautiful. And, you know, when the imported ones were cheaper, the hotels would take from them instead. And we had to end up dumping or, you know, losing on that crop. And, you know, we gave away, we donated as much as we could. But what that taught us is that, you know, the consumer wasn't, you know, our palates had changed. There's all these franchises, these food franchises now in the Caribbean. And, you know, food has evolved, right?
Yeah.
So because our palates has changed, it sort of reduced that demand for, you know, healthy, fresh ingredients, right? So we decided to have this dinner. We would do it once a month. We would have it on a farm sometimes with Chef Sonia Siniswi. We've worked with Chef Jared Marquez. You know, we work with a lot of young chefs, you know, and helping them as well challenge themselves to use local in their cooking, right? Chef Bridget, you know, and there are a lot of chefs that are going back to those sources. And we had that event for about 5 years, and I think it really did have an impact in helping persons become more aware of, you know, we had things like dehydrated pawpaw seeds, ground as black pepper, instead of, you know, the imported. We used different ingredients to season things. You know, we had a German chef who lives here. She ended up cooking. She wanted to do sauerkraut with purple cabbage. But we didn't have purple cabbage.
Yeah.
So she used sorrel to dye green cabbage to create the same dish.
That's so innovative.
These are really innovative ways that we can highlight our food systems, and which will attract persons from all over the world to come and experience something that, you know, actually supports the local economy. If you look at travel now, it is also evolving. People are becoming more responsible in, you know, which parts of the business they support. And you see it with bigger chain brands in the tourism sector, building back that community and that love. So it's an important and exciting time, I think, for things like food tourism, for us to innovate. You look at things like Stishony Bush in Jamaica. You know, people come from all over the globe just to eat one meal there. Yeah. And then, of course, they're going to stay in the country and support the local economy. So I think this is how, you know, I think food tourism can really shift things in the Caribbean.
I mean, so all of this is very, very exciting to hear about, to know that these things actually are happening. You know, but after 16 years of the market movers, you know, what's next for you, or do you have any projects on the horizon currently?
Yeah. So my dream, well, before I started the company with David, you know, my parents told me I had to go to college. So I actually studied international relations and wanted to work in the UN. And of course, you know, you come back home and you don't get that job. I was volunteering at the YMCA, you know, so that's how we really started. Out of necessity, I needed to, you know, get an income. And I had this degree that I couldn't really use. So now I actually consult for the UN and other food agencies through my experience to help other SMEs across the Caribbean, food SMEs especially, you know, grow their branding, enhance their compliance, their digitization. And I think there's so many layers within, you know, the entrepreneurial ecosystem that if we want to grow, you know, the Caribbean, this is, I think, how you do it, right? And food is a great sense of security for any country. I think in the end, all we care about is that we have something to eat, right?
Yeah.
Or family is close to us, right? So these are the things that really matter when things become a little overwhelming globally.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about continuing my work throughout the Caribbean. Obviously, winning the Anthony Sabdo Award has sort of thrusted me into, you know, really, you know, accomplishing something as the highest entrepreneurial award in the Caribbean. It's a huge validation, right? And this is from peers and persons who are much older than me or who have way more experience than me saying, you know, you deserve this achievement, right? And it's very exciting. Etienne Charles is actually, I went primary school with him. He also won for arts and letters.
Yes.
I won for entrepreneurship, and it's just kind of insane, you know, just receiving this honor.
Like this beautiful full circle moment in a way. I wanted to touch quickly on, not without sharing too much, some of the business strategies that you would impose from the Market Movers design. Can you share just like one of those things that has helped you to scale the business and sustain your companies over the years?
Right. I think learning and applying is a fundamental tool. Everything I learn, everything we learn, we apply it very quickly to our business. So and we apply it quickly so that we can pilot it, test it, see if it works, and then if it doesn't, like squash it real quick.
Yes.
So I think that pace can be very daunting to some people. But it's almost like you're building this thing, right? This brand. And it's how do you shape it and mold it into something that feels good for you and your vision and your purpose, right? So those are just fundamental things that we do. We will try something, you know, pivot. Well, I don't really like the word pivot, but, you know, we would innovate, and I think innovation is a great word. I mean, I was on the panel of, you know, a competition years ago. You know, it was a big deal to be a judge. You know, I barely had a business. Well, I had a business, but it was just figuring out things daily. So being that judge and seeing that innovation and seeing all these great ideas come in from the country, I was like, you know, it's like, okay, there's so much more than just partying in Trinidad, you know, and Tobago. And I'm not saying partying isn't bad, but it can, you know, sort of distract the bigger purpose, right? So I think when, you know, you see that being these ideas coming in, I'm like, oh my gosh, some of these are like my thoughts, and it would be great if, you know, there's more entrepreneurs that we can relay with and talk to. You know, when we started our business, I would go and ask like business people advice, and they would be like, no, you know, very guarded, or they would give you like a piece of it. And I think in an SME community, you build this trust and this network, right? With any community, it starts, you know, even if it's a family. And it's just some few key entrepreneurs I've sort of grown with and evolved with. You know, and I've seen that ecosystem build out. And now today, I mean, an entrepreneur like me can win $500,000 in, you know, like from a prize. And for your company to access something like that, it's growing, it's scaling. And I think sometimes it doesn't always come the way you want. But I definitely think when you dream it or you envision it, somehow the pieces sort of fall together if you work hard and you stick with it, of course. I mean, there were times when David and I was like ready to give up and just like this makes no sense. But I think our customers always kind of brought us back, and they would say, you know, no, we need this service. You know, we had customers, you know, who are differently able, as I said. So to be able to, you know, support them and really make a difference, it feels good. And I think that's the value that you should be looking for in anything you do, where you're helping other people live a better life, because in turn it sort of relays back to you, right? So
so Ms. Rennie, we do have to wrap up, but I just want to end on this note. So you would have said, I'm quoting, love your business, but don't fall in love with it. Can you expand a little bit on that and tell us why is that so important?
So I think at the time, I mean, just David and I actually were a couple when we first started the business, and we there came a point where we were like, okay, do we do the business or do we have a relationship? And we both were like, let's do the business. And I think the reason why was, you know, when you're in love, you know, you see all the best parts of something and you're all enamored and you don't really see things clearly. So I think at that point was when David and I was no longer in love, but yes, we did love and care about each other, but we cared deeply about this business. So it was, from the moment we did that, it was like, okay, we needed to end a relationship so that this could grow. You know, that's something that was kind of keeping back or holding back the business. And it was, you know, us having a clear vision to see what the problems were, you know, why wasn't the customer reordering? Is it the packaging? Is it this? And customer feedback, all this stuff, you know, we use that as a tool to, you know, and if I didn't love my business, I wouldn't have seen those holes and those gaps. I think if somebody really cares about you, they want you to improve and get better and be your best self. So I think, yeah, that's really what that phrase meant. I was actually going through that transition of, you know, being in love to really loving something on a much deeper level, which was, you know, the company and who we became by servicing our community.
And to see where it is right now, how does it feel? If you could wrap it up in like one word to win the Laureate Award, to win the Instant Young Entrepreneurship Award, to speak at TEDx Port of Spain, what was all of that like in one word?
It feels seen, you know. I feel seen. I feel like the things I always felt about myself, people are finally getting and not seeing it as a threat or that I'm, you know, being too excitable. No. But I think I use that motivation to sort of, you know, make sure people saw what I was trying to say and communicate. So.
I love that. I love having you as an alum from Prairie Girls as well.
Of course.
So yes,
and of course I want to give back and give back to those communities and those foundations that helped me as well. The Youth Business of Trinidad and Tobago, I'm now a director on that board, and they gave us our first startup loan like in 2009. You know, so they trusted us. Since then, I'm now a director helping other youth in business. And I really want to give back to those communities and invest in building this entrepreneurial ecosystem in the Caribbean.
We love to hear that. Yes. So yes, we do have to wrap up now, unfortunately. Okay. But we loved having you on, and hopefully we can have you on in the future again.
Yes, and we definitely support this cause. You're doing well, and we do hope to hear more about what you accomplish in the future.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So when we come back, we are going to have Ricardo Meade live in studio for the first time in a while. So we are very excited about that. So stay tuned to see what animal he is bringing in studio today. We will be right back.
My name is Dr. Joanne Williams-Carroll. I am the Director of Behavioral and Mental Health at the Community Hospital. At the Community Hospital, we believe in nurturing mind, body, and soul. Through our counseling and chaplaincy program, we will provide you with support and strength you need to help with your mental and emotional well-being.
Give us a call.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
And welcome back to AM Prime this morning. We have a very exciting segment. It's one that we have not had in a while. A friend of AM Prime back here with us this morning, Mr. Ricardo Meade. Good morning, Mr. Meade.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning. Good morning to our listeners, viewers, followers out there in the WWW.
Yes. Nature is full of creatures, some of which we rarely get to see close up. So today on Wild Wednesday, we have a pygmy anteater. Not sure. Well, actually, we don't know anything about these small, tiny anteaters. So, Mr. Mead, can you just tell us, share with us, what exactly is a pygmy anteater, and why is it called a pygmy?
Well, that's the name says it all, and it means it all. Sometimes the names are very literal. This is one instance where it's literal. So, in the Western Hemisphere, we have 3 anteaters. The greater anteater, which is the envy of everybody, the big woolly-looking creatures that we see in South America. They're quite popular in Guyana. In Trinidad, we have 2. So we don't have that giant, we have 2. We have the lesser anteater, so you have the greater, you have the lesser, and then you have the pygmy, which is with us here today. And the name, like I said, the name says it all and describes it all quite accurately. The lesser is our matapel, or the lesser anteater that we have here in Trinidad, more commonly seen. And then we have this guy here, which is the pygmy. A pygmy in anything, in any species of animal, even people, means very small. So there are pygmy people in Africa. We have a pygmy owl, and there are pygmy ducks, and you name it. There's pygmy goats, always tiny, and all the reaction is, oh my God, it's so cute.
Yes.
So get ready for your moment right now, ladies, as we're going to bring out the pygmy anteater, and of course the reaction is going to be...
Oh, he's cute.
As expected and on cue. Yes. Yeah. They're small, literally like the palm of your hand. There we go. And but it is an anteater just like the others, and it shares a lot of the same features. It's also known as a silky anteater because if we had some good sunlight in here, you'd have seen that silky color on his coat, very golden type coat, and also called a pomy one. Many people would have heard of that, and they say, "Now you're acting like a pomy one." Well, this is the creature that saying comes from, because it literally would be found in mangroves and trees and so on. They just sort of cuddle with its head down, eyes covered.
So they're very shy.
Very shy, reclusive creatures, really like a pomy one.
Yeah.
So
Are
the
they
name.
native to Trinidad and Tobago?
Yes, very much so. Well, we call this little guy Ward, because he was found, I think it was on Ward 7, San Fernando General Hospital. Oh. Quite strange, yeah, when you get a call 1 o'clock in the morning from doctors saying, we have this anteater thing here that was found roaming the corridor. So we determined that he probably went to the hospital to get some treatment because he has a very strange injury on the tip of his tail. It was what we call degloved. It's something like try to bite him or eat him, capture him, or even possibly a human there. And in his attempt to get away, his skin and some of his flesh was removed from the tip of his tail. So that is still being treated. It seems like one of those, what they call like a diabetic sore that just would not heal. Yes. And so it seems to be very much ongoing. So we're going to have a reappraisal and re-examination of that wound and probably come up with a different course of action for treating it. And the aim is that hopefully, as soon as we see some progress with that this creature will be released.
Right.
Because our fear is that if that degeneration of his tissue continues, that he will lose his tail. And as you can see, he uses that tail. Yeah, it's a prehensile tail, just like the other anteater we have, so he uses it to hold on. And without it, he will not be able to survive. So we are very much big on the important thing is when we put animals back into the wild, yeah, we can release him. Any people can say, yeah, we released it. Yeah. But is it survivable? Is it going to make it? And that is most important to us.
Is he in any pain?
Any pain? No, it doesn't seem so. No pain whatsoever. Total good function, normal functioning and so on. Eating like a little demon. He's eating great.
So what do they eat?
Well, anteater. Though they eat ants, they will probably try some uncles and cousins and so on like that. Okay, but termites, they're their favorite food.
Termites.
Yeah, so I can't get out every night and hack enough termites for this guy. Like the bigger one we have will eat about 10,000 termites a night.
Wow.
Yeah. But in their behavior, they will not destroy a termite nest because, okay, if I destroy the termite nest today, what am I going to eat tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's as Mother Nature in her balance, sustainable. You know, there's a word we're now cluing into and everything. We try to be sustainable. A lot of it is fake, but Mother Nature is truly sustainable. That's why we've been around and we continue to be around. The fly in the ointment of Mother Nature is human beings. We come and Mother Nature designs this way and then we come and mess things up and then throw it off. But we have a special formula that we had to prepare for other anteater, and she has taken to it, and I think she has gained some weight with it. I know you're not supposed to talk about weight and ladies, but we think it's a lady also because of the pelvic region and the hip area. So she has done quite well, but that tail just, you know, like I said, it's like a diabetic, so it just would not get to the point where we're satisfied that it's not going to go down. And so she's going to go back to the doctors, and we're going to reappraise it, and we have some consultation with some foreign vets who've had experience with these, and then we're going to come up with a solution for that issue with this anteater.
What is Ward like?
Pardon me?
What is Ward like?
What is it?
What is he like?
She's going to touch it. Go ahead. Let's get wild. It's Wednesday. Go ahead. Just a quick touch, because if she thinks you're being too rough with her, she will strike you with those claws.
Oh, why would you say that?
Before we talk about her striking, I just want to know, how does she eat her food? And is it like a kind of a prey type where she has to hunt for her food, or?
Well, in the wild, what would happen is that, well, they're nocturnal.
Right.
But the strange thing is she has these, excuse me, tiny, beady little eyes.
Yes.
So they don't rely on their sight, per se, more on their sense of smell.
Okay.
Okay, so the termites and the ants that she would seek even deep in the ground, she doesn't have to see them. She would smell them out. And she would approach the nest, and her front claws are quite sharp and powerful, just like in the bigger ant. So she would use that to hack into and dig into and bust open the termite nest. The termites come out. Now, who's messing with us? All angry. And she has a long tongue, and sticky tongue, and she just slips them up.
Yeah.
Okay, so she can't bite you. Her mouth is too small, but she can definitely slurp up something as tiny as a termite and other ants and so on. The way we feed her is that from we started with the other one, we created a special formula, which takes a lot of things to go in there to create the proper balance. And we know we're doing it right, because our other anteater, we got a tinier than this. She was in the palm of our hands because they killed her mother. And so we had to create an infant formula and progress it into a formulation that the adult can consume. So she's consuming it at home, and this one is consuming it also and doing just amazing with that formula. But it takes a lot of work to do that. It starts off with 100 mealworms or superworms. My wife's blender, which is no longer my wife's blender, eggs, bananas, all sort of things put in there, because we have to contribute the proper nutrition to her diet that's necessary.
So you kind of match the nutrients that found in ants and
correct, that they would eat, and they would supplement other things. They like honey also in there, so she would get some honey in there, some peanut butter. So it's quite a complex diet that has to be done every other day.
Right.
Okay, so you can't make it and put it on and say, right, food for the week. Nope, it's going to spoil.
Yes.
And they're going to look at you like, you expect me to eat that?
Yes.
So it's a bit of chore every day to do it. But when you do it and the result is that the creature lives and does well and goes back into the wild, that's the reward right there.
Yes. What is the life cycle of a pygmy anteater?
Well, the truth is, very little is known.
Very little is known.
Very little is known, because it's such a reclusive creature. Many people don't even know we have this in Trinidad. And because of the dietary restriction, I say, or specialized diet, it was not held in captivity. So that's where they learn quite a lot about the animals. When it's in captivity, you can say, okay, we've had it for 40 days. It does this, it does that. After a year, it went into its cycle and heat, and then it, it started calling and, whatever it is. But without it having that close human personal interaction and observation and studies, basically, it's very difficult. So we're hoping to learn as much as possible about her during the time that we have her. And probably one of our volunteers in time to come would take it on as a study. It's going to be quite challenging to find enough of them to study in the areas, but they're just really amazing creatures that we have right here.
Does she hang from her tail? Because I see she's like crawling
she does
down.
that, because she's looking for her next spot to go to. So sometimes it's like towards my hand, she may go down to the table. I'm going to just hold it on there and let her go onto the table. If she comes towards you and attacks you, just tell her that you're not an ant.
Oh my gosh. So let's get back on that striking comment, right? How does she defend herself?
Well, those, and there's a perfect time there because you can see the front claws there. The same claws that she uses to dig open.
Yes.
Okay, so the right word really is defending herself because that's all that she would do. She would never go after you.
Yes.
But if you grab her, a predator grabs her, a person grabs her, those claws, see it right there, little hook, and you know, you think that is so cute. A lot of times her action is actually telling you, leave me alone.
Right.
So we had a case where we had one some time ago, and we were getting ready to release it, and one of the volunteers, oh my gosh, I love them, they're so cute. I said, be careful, that creature can be very dangerous. And he's like, no, 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 I have dealt with them before. And she stood up on her hind legs and raised, and was doing this like, okay, Kung Fu Panda style, leave me alone. And he was like, oh, it's so cute. And he put his hand forward, see a sort of thing like that there. And she came down, whap, drew blood instantly.
Wow.
Instantly. So they're quite sharp and they're quite powerful. She will not attack you, but if you, and ignore her. A lot of times with wild animals, it's the case is people ignore the signs. The animals say, hey, leave me alone. Leave me alone. I don't like you. I don't feel comfortable. And of course, we as human, we're big and we're bad, and we go forth with our will. We try to impose our will on them. And then the result is, you know, the most popular saying on the internet now, you know, mess around and find out.
Yes. So, I mean, on the topic of defense, is the color of her fur kind of, because it blends in a little bit with the tree bark, so is it not a type of a camouflage?
Correct, because she wants, when she's during the day sitting in that tree, for you to walk past her.
Yes.
Okay, so she blends right in. So a wonderful place to see them is the Winston Nanan Bird Sanctuary.
Okay.
That was formerly Caroni Bird Sanctuary. And when you are lucky, because you don't always see them, you will see one or two sometimes.
Right.
So you see slippery surface is giving her a little bit of a challenge, but she's still moving forward. And we'll get this there, make sure she does not take the plunge. That's the kind of plunge we want you to take at all. And she has a beautiful stripe in the belly there. It's such an amazing creature. So there, in the bird sanctuary, when you're lucky, sometimes you will see one up in a tree. We've released at least 8 of them in the bird sanctuary. So they do find themselves in strange places. And it's important at this time because the dry season is actually now upon us. And with that comes the fire season, which is a terrifying time of the year for wildlife rehabilitators, rescuers, and a lot of animals. Because already I'm seeing our hills on fire, smoke. I mean, I had to literally dust out my car that I left open yesterday for a short space of time, the amount of ash. You know, and you said, well, ash is like back in the days. We don't have sugarcane anymore. We're not burning sugarcane anymore. So what we're burning is our ecosystems. And these creatures get displaced a lot. I've seen them burnt. I've seen them shot. So this dry season, those fires, when you set in those fires and you think it's just bush, little guys like these perish. They get hurt and they die. So it's good to be mindful.
Are they solitary animals or they find in groups?
Yeah, pretty much. Solitary. And they have their sense of smell. They will find each other at the right time for mating, which we believe, according to the big ones, is actually a slow process. So it's a slow reproduction process. So that means that when you lose these animals, we are losing a lot in our ecosystem. A lot of our mammals, their gestation period is long and their reproductive cycle is extremely long also. So we have to do our best to protect them, else we will end up losing them here in Trinidad and Tobago.
How are they as parents? Like, are there some of the animals that they just have the child and then they go?
Yeah, the babies, no. Well, mammals on the whole take care of their offspring. What she would do is, and we've seen this because we had one already, the babies cling onto her or onto her back as they get bigger. So they're birthed and then they hold on to her and they would feed off her teats or nipple. And as they get bigger, they would be on her back. And at the right time in their life, they would branch out literally onto branches and go about their business.
So if I was to encounter, anybody was to encounter a pygmy anteater near their house, so what should they do?
Give it, if you want to move it, do this. Put a branch, a stick or something like that there in front of it. Okay, avoid contacting because, okay, I'm doing this because I'm literally a professional. I know how to do it and react to the actions and so on. But put a branch or stick and you can put it just somewhere safe. And that's a challenge now. So we get a lot of calls now, and we will be getting a lot more calls because they will end up in strange places. The ward in San Fernando General, and again, I'd love to thank those doctors who came up to us at 2 o'clock in the morning to ensure that the animal was safe. I believe it's probably a cat or a dog attacked it that caused that tail damage. And, but they will they will flee to homes because usually houses are safe areas.
Yes.
So the bush around, you burn the bush, you set the fire during the evening, and it burning the night, so you're destroying his home, so it's coming to your home. So it's not coming to hurt you or attack you, it's just trying to get away from the fire. And, literally they will scramble away. They've been found in cars, in engines, they just want safety.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to.
Yes.
So please stop burning. It's time to learn.
Yes.
Stop the burn. Stop destroying our creatures.
What is some of their main predators? So what are the animal that goes after the anteater, the pygmy anteater?
Well, we would have to basically put that against the environment it's in and the animals that exist in that environment. So in a mangrove environment, you would have various hawks, right? Birds of prey that could swoop down and grab them up, from the common black hawk, gray-lined hawk, even a peregrine falcon may go after it. In the forest, you have creatures like the tyra, and even an ocelot would go after. This will be great food for a little ocelot, or even a big ocelot, because also their timing also. Ocelot is nocturnal, this is nocturnal.
Yes.
And then, of course, the ultimate predator, hunter, killer, doesn't understand what they're doing. Humans. Humans.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
no, just do they have a sound? Do they make a sound?
I've heard a little sort of sound, but other than that, no. Pretty much quiet. And I'm still trying to determine exactly if the sound was an oral sound or a mechanical sound from it just kind of scratching on something.
Right.
Yeah, but pretty much quiet. It's just,
So right now it's technically her bedtime.
Yes, it is her bedtime. And she's, like I'm saying, I'm still looking at her. I have a feeling that she's, a little, flopped up, but we got to get on the scale today and determine, because what happens in captivity sometimes with animals, when they have an easy food source, it's very easy for them to gain weight to their detriment. No, they would probably eat the same amount in the wild, but she would probably cover more than 1 kilometer of browsing and walking in the night. In captivity, it's very difficult for that to occur. So the balance of caloric intake and caloric burn is off, and so they start to accumulate fatty tissue very quickly, or fat between the tissue, and it can become detrimental to them. So we have to look at that, and then if we have to even now manipulate the diet, reduce the amount of peanut butter, for example, that would put additional calories in there, give them no access to honey, that sort of thing. Even the banana, control that. So it's not just, hey, feed them this and it works that way. We have to look at that and monitor their diet very carefully all the time.
How long have you all had her?
Possibly short of 7 weeks now.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just a short speed, probably even less than that. I would say probably closer to 5 weeks. Now, we have her admission record, so we look at that and see. But the first couple of nights would touch and go with that tail, and at least we're not getting the odor from it anymore. The odor from a wound means there is some necrotic and infection and so on, and so we're not getting that. But somehow it seems like it seems a little more in terms of progression. So we have to be very careful that it's not a sneaking sort of infection that would just, make the whole bone and tissue, everything fall off. That's the worry and the concern with her right now.
Are these anteaters endangered in any way?
Nope, thanks.
I actually want to touch her, but
You just hold the stick. You can hold the stick and then you can touch it. Yeah. If she comes to one hand, switch it to the next. And so on. Let's get a little interactive here.
Sure.
Okay.
Yes. So are they endangered in any way?
See, that's part of the problem we have in our country. We have so much wildlife and so much biodiversity that it's hard to keep track of them. Nobody is out counting them. Nobody's checking and seeing, okay, when it burns, in a mangrove region, how many of them possibly die and stuff like that. They're not a very common creature. They can be found in a wide range from, like we said, mangrove to deeply forested areas to even semi-forested areas. That's how they would end up close to people, right? Yes. See, that's a good thing. That's a good exercise. Keep you on your toes, literally right there. If you fall asleep, then you will find out. No, she won't attack your hand even if you do. She gets close to your hand.
So I know that the viewers aren't seeing it, but she has it's fingers almost. I thought maybe just one large claw, but it's fingers.
Yes, exactly. But 3 of them in the front, a big main one in the middle, and 2 smaller ones on the side.
Yes.
Again, her feet go, they kind of turn back.
Right, because when she is walking, she
double-jointed.
would not want to walk on the claws. That will damage them and dull them. So she sort of turns and she has these pads under her feet and she walks on that.
Smart creature.
Right.
Yes.
So what we'll have is that for comparison, what we will do is bring on the bigger one, the Matapel, on the next episode. So there is that understanding of, wow, this one was here this week and this one, right? So if she, you know, strikes you, and she won't, most likely, you know, but then, you know, you always have what we call these TV moments where animals do strange things.
Yeah.
Makes for great television.
If I were to put my hand here as she's facing that way, would it, like, in how you can't do that to a horse, would she have any sort of reaction?
She might just shrug a little bit, but you can go ahead and touch her like that.
So what is the most interesting thing that you've learned about Ward specifically?
Ward, it's strange because we do not interact with her, and she has, for the moments that we have to interact with her, accepted it quite well.
Yes.
And it's sort of strange. I guess it's sort of the way the creature is, because it's not a predatory creature, and it will only become defensive if it feels threatened.
Yes.
So when we do subtle examinations, we try to do as subtle as possible to examine and check for her on her body condition and her tail. We have to medicate that tail almost every other day.
Yes.
She's quite tolerant of it. Very, very tolerant. So it's really an easy creature to deal with that way, but extremely difficult to keep in captivity for an extended period of time because of that diet and that specialization.
I have a feeling she likes that iPad. And I know you're not seeing it clearly as the viewers, camera isn't picking it up, but you would think that if the fur is very scratchy almost, it's incredibly soft.
Yes,
it's
that's so.
Incredibly soft. Oh, look at her.
Yeah.
Oh, she's having a bowl. She is having a ball. You go, Ward.
So, yeah. So, and quite in contrast to the other one, the lesser anteater, the Matapel, their fur, the shock that everybody expresses when they touch that one is that the fur is so coarse, very, very tough. And you would imagine that being a bigger anteater and that would go after ants that dwell in the ground, which are usually biting ants.
Yes.
That is very important for her protection. So you can't be cute and cuddly and dealing with the bad guys. You have to be a little tougher.
Yes.
And that is what she is, definitely.
Can these anteaters be pets?
Not at all.
No, okay.
Not recommend. First of all, okay, you can give it a home. What are you going to feed it? How are you going to feed it?
Yes.
And as I expressed before, we go through hell to produce food every other day for this animal. It's quite a lot of work, and a lot of resources go before that. The food is the easy part. We have literally 20 colonies of mealworms and superworms that produce literally millions every year now. And we've had periods of times where we've had die-offs in those colonies, and it has been hell to get enough food to feed her. So now we have to go into the bush and start chopping down termites' nests, and it still is not enough because we can see the weight loss. They would lose weight quickly because it's such a high protein diet. When they're not getting that level, they would reduce body mass very quickly. So we have seen that. So we have upped, and we are going to up again to now 40 colonies of mealworms and superworms to ensure that we can produce enough food, because not only the anteaters, we have lots of birds. That's the main thing. Birds eat it, monkeys eat it, squirrels eat it. So we have lots of creatures in rehabilitation that rely on this food source. But this one is the most critical. The others, the birds can eat other fruits and stuff, most of them. But these guys will only eat that food that we prepare, or go into the bush and collect termites. Either way, it's a lot of work.
It sounds like it, yes.
A lot of, human time getting it ready.
Well, you're counteracting the terrorism that humans have done. So I guess it would be a lot of work.
Yeah, because again, even if the animal doesn't burn, and you burn the forest and you burn the termite nest, that's their food source.
Yes.
So it's a lot of damage being done out there by these fires at this time of the year.
It's like Jenga, everything is like affecting the other.
Correct. Nothing is in a little silo. It's not encapsulated. Everything is connected. And with each day, when you think you know so much, you find out another connection that makes us more grounded. And the sad thing is, people who are supposedly more intelligent, more educated, try to isolate themselves from their ecosystem.
Yes.
And that is when they get more sick and they have more problems and they try to figure out stuff. Look at the animals, understand more the way they live, and it's going to be better for us.
It would.
Okay, much better for us.
Look at how
it's really important to understand your ecosystem, and we're lucky in Trinidad we have so much, and that's our problem. We have too much. If we had 2 animals, they would have been on our national stamps and on this and on that, and everybody would know it.
Yes.
We have more than 100 species of mammals.
Wow.
People not
And I think that's the next thing. I mean, we have so much, but I don't think it's spoken about enough. There's not enough education surrounding knowing how much we have here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yep, because it's challenging in a way, and before now it was bush things and for bush people. Now we're realizing this bush thing is a great eco-tourist attraction. People love the opportunity to come here and see something like this. You're not going to see this in North America.
Yeah.
And to see this in South America and even Central America, you have to take plane and boat and kayak and canoe and donkey. Right here in Trinidad, you just literally 40 minutes from the Hyatt is the Winston, Nana and Caroni Bird Sanctuary. And you can have one of the most amazing ecotouristic experiences there. That, along with so many others. There's no in Trinidad that you can't get in 2.5 hours. And that makes it an amazing ecotourist destination with about 7 different forest types. So from turtle watching, bird watching, looking for mammals, looking for reptiles at night, different amphibians, we have it all here in Trinidad and Tobago. And that, my friends, is foreign exchange waiting to be tapped into right there. Right, so you can see the prehensile ability of the tail. That's what it uses. We also call it like a monkey tail. It's its 5th limb, so it doesn't fall. So even if it grabs onto a branch and the branch breaks or the leaf falls, the tail helps it literally to stay grounded and keeps it from getting hit. So it really is an arboreal creature that does a thing. So she's getting a share of exercise today. We try to let her get out in the evening to move around as much as possible, but it's difficult because it requires constant monitoring. She will find herself inside of a refrigerator up next to the compressor. She will find herself inside of a car, inside the dashboard. I've had a case where people have had to take apart a car dashboard to get one out.
She is everywhere.
They are quite slippery creatures. Every chance and space they get to move, they will. So she is actually moving quite a lot, which is good. Again, because like I said, we have a concern. I have a concern about her not moving enough.
Yes.
So her next enclosure, temporary enclosure, is going to be quite large to give her that opportunity to literally do her circles and movement, and then from there, release into the bird sanctuary. Right. So
what else would you want people to know about her before we close?
Well, like you are with your red, black and white, she also, if her passport shows a red, black and white, she's a true Trini. These are some of the creatures we have here. Do not attempt to grab them. Again, if they come towards your home and so on, they use this sort of method, use a branch, a broomstick or something, let her hold on to it there, and then you can get her into a box to be safely, see that there? See the strength and the power? Safely relocated. Yes, that is the strength and the power. That is what they call what? Core strength. You have tremendous core strength. Yeah, it's an amazing creature, and you're going to see them come into your homes and in strange places, even walking across the road. Please do not hurt these creatures. They are absolutely harmless unless you're a termite, you know, and even if you're an ant, she's not going to eat you.
Yes.
So let's love them and appreciate them, these amazing creatures that we are gifted to have here in Trinidad and Tobago.
Of course. Well, I think I heard a sound, like a squeak. Oh, I don't know. It could be the nail. But I think I know it's towards bedtime. So we do have to wrap up now. But it was such a pleasure to have you as well as Ward on the show this morning. We've learned so much about these little Pomi-1 anteaters.
Hi, Ward.
There you go with it again. That's lovely.
A pygmy anteater, you guys.
A pygmy anteater. Well, thank you, Mr. Mead, for joining us on the program this morning. This was definitely, I mean, for not having Wild Wednesday in quite some time, this was definitely a very exciting way to start back. And
thank you all very much for having us, and we hope to continue the education. That's what it's about.
Yes.
You can't love what you don't know.
Yes.
So when we teach people, they can understand, and if you understand, you can love and have an association and understand. This girl, Ward, she's a Trini, just like you. Right? So now after work it's time to
Sleep.
There you go. For her, no partying, just sleep.
Just
all right? So she goes back in, and she will cuddle up in a corner, hide her face as a little poor me
One. All right. Well, again, thanks to Ricardo Mead for joining us on the program and bringing Ward, the pygmy anteater. I hope that you enjoyed the segment and learned a lot. We definitely learned a lot, and we had a lot of questions that got answered.
Yes, I'll admit, it took me a while to warm up to Ward.
Yes.
But she is adorable, and there's so many little tidbits you can learn from her and others like her.
Yes.
So I really do hope that you guys were informed and you guys know how to deal with a pygmy anteater if you were to come across one.
Yes. Well, that's tomorrow morning. Keaton Shah will be back on the program. So look out for that for him. And today will be the end of
this duo, this dynamic.
Jade and I, but not forever. Definitely not forever. We will be back soon. But we do hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And as Keaton Shah says, today is a good day to have a good day. Bye.
WESN.
Folks, we're back and better than ever.
Your show have always appeared to be a show that is focused on going to the cause or looking to the cause.
We hardly ever talk about the white-collar crime, though. We always talk about the ones that involve more as physical violence against individuals.
The citizens will only measure transmission when water starts to flow through their taps.
The Constitution doesn't talk about local election.
Contract mafia is responsible for looting the country, and they own and operate these politicians.
So if you are running a country and you can't say nothing as a prime minister, please take up your bag and go.
It is not comparative to the murder figures, but it is in fact very high.
I believe